Hey everyone, we start with Bitcoin. We start with a 1 hour chart. You want to see how we can look at the chart. And if you refer to our analysis, in my last video, we had the trade setup. First things, if you refer to our analysis in my last video, we mentioned that if we wants to look for, at that time, the price was within this move. I mentioned if we wants to look for trade buy, one of the option was to put our entry above the top. And I mentioned we are expecting to get the three wave the structure, and this is what we get. All right, that's why I was keep highlighting. Let the price give us one more drop. All right, and anyway, this is what we get. We get the trade for buy because I mentioned if we get any trade setup for buy, if we put our fib here for 27%, the target we're looking for is 34550, and exactly the price what we were expected tag. And now we have the price consolidating here. Okay, whoever get the trade we mentioned, we want to see whether we can get the continuation or not, and whoever get this trade, they should move their stop loss to break even if they want to keep the trade. Because I was keep highlighting, we want to, if we get any trade setup for buy from here, we will take the trade and as a three wave structure. All right, and the only way to look for trade was to put our entry at the top because we discussed about that. And if we move to 15 minutes, it will be more clear. Right, and even if anyone at the first stage they put the entry above the top, when the price was here, the price almost was near to what we wanted, but the price couldn't tag and drop. And the second times the price tag, because when the price was within this move, I mentioned we prefer to get the three waves structure. Okay, as what we expected, we get the trade, we are in the profit, and whoever get the trade, as I mentioned, if they want to keep the trade, move their stop loss to break even, because the first target was 34550. If we want to see the continuation, first things we need to see the breakout of the previous stop. And if we put our fib here, the 67% can be a next target. Sorry, 61%, because the 27% it was the first target already. The price is there. Okay, and no one see what's the next. In this case, we don't need this one. In this case, we move to daily chart. All right. Based on daily chart, we mentioned we're looking for this flat and we want to see whether we can call it this one as the last way for the price to reverse, or we can expect this one turn to flat and still we can be in the down move before we get the reversal. This is what we discussed last time, but we mentioned if we get any reversal, any trade setup for buy, we will take the trade. And if we move to forward chart, this is how we can look at the chart. And right now, the only thing is we're looking for continuation. Similar to what we get here, we get a trade. Right now, we want to see whether we can get any trade setup for buy from here or not. If we get, we take the trade. Okay, that means we prefer the price consolidate here for a longer time. It can give us better confirmation for continuation based on forward chart. But beside that, we need to be quite careful that this can turn to a flat in relative to this move. If the price cannot continue from here, start to give us a continuation as a corrective move, mostly we can expect this one turn to internal flat for price to drop before we get the reversal. All right. Right now, we're looking for buy, but we need to be know about this possibility. That's why if we get any trade, we see is not moving in our direction, we are not going to keep the trade. And if we move to 1 hour chart, whoever get the trade, because we have been looking for the buy by putting our entry as 33650 and the price tag 34550 as the first target. If anyone wants to keep the trade, move their stop loss to break even right now. Okay, and if we want to look for the next trade, right now what I can see here is expanding flat. All right, if we want to look for trade, if we see the continuation as a short move flag, either based on 1 hour or 15 minutes, mostly we can trade based on 15 minutes, we take the trade. But if we want to look for buy from here, what I prefer this one, the price consolidate here for a longer time. Still, we can put our entry above the top, or we wait for the short move flag, we take the trade. But if we want to trade, as I mentioned, the best way was to look for buy from here. If we want to look for trade from here, either by put our entry above the top or look for the short move flag, either based on 1 hour or 15 minutes, we need to be quite careful. Because right now we know about the bigger picture. If this one turn to flat, maybe the price can drop. Okay, that's mean if we get any trade setup, we see there is no continuation, and if the price couldn't break 35535 exact value, if I put my line here, that's mean the previous stop. we are not going to keep the trade for a long time. All right. And the only thing is right now we don't have really good trade setup. Having entry above this can be an option, but I won't suggest it. But since the price was within this move, we could take the trade by having entry above the top. But having entry above the top, because we know but the bigger picture, is not really good. Okay. Either we wait for the breakout of the stop as a sharp move flag, we take the trade, or internally based on 15 minutes if we get a trade setup. What I prefer, either this one price consolidate here for longer time, or we see the breakout of the previous top, then from there we take the trade. Okay, right now we don't have really good trade setup. Buying from here, it doesn't mean we cannot look for buy, but it doesn't give us a really good trade setup since we have a uh, expanding flat. And if we refer to the indicators, MACD doesn't show us the divergence, and the another one showing me the divergence. That's why I mentioned if he wants to look for buy from here, we need to be quite careful. Okay, and the next one is ETH. And again, if we refer to the ETH, since the price was within this move, all right, I mentioned the only way is to put our entry above the top. Okay, and as we can see, we get the trade, and the first target was 1940. The price broke, and we mentioned if there is a continuation, the second level will be 61%, which is somewhere around 2k. Even the price broke 2k. Okay, and whoever get the trade, at least move their stop loss to break in. But one thing I need to highlight here, because if we refer to my last analysis, when we mentioned we discussed how we can look for trade. I mentioned the only way is to put our entry above the top, because at that time we had this flat. We didn't have this one, the second and the third wave. And I mentioned if we get the three waves structure, it can give us a better confirmation. That's why when we see this move, the reversal and the price drop and broke the previous low, at that time the best things was to put our entry above here, which is somewhere around 1870 or 1865. Okay, but we didn't have an option, any update for that. But this is how we can look for trade. All right. Anyway, whoever get the trade by having entry above this, that means they didn't put their entry above the stop, and it doesn't matter whether they get the entry above by having above the here or above the stop. Right now, they should be in the profit, and they should, if they want to keep the trade, they should move their stop loss to break even. Okay, because almost the price tag the second target. In case the reason is because if they are looking for the continuation, at least move their stop loss to break even. Okay, or they can take take out the half of the trade in the profit and keep the rest. All right, and now if we move to daily chart, the only thing is we have been looking for the reversal similar to what we explained based on, for Bitcoin. The only thing is whether this one can turn to a correction. That means we can still be within this down move or not. We need to be quite careful. That's why if he wants to keep the trade, first things move or stop loss to break even. And if he wants to look for the next trade, we need to be quite careful that this one can turn to a flat, as I explained based on, uh, I mean, for Bitcoin. But the only thing is, since we have a divergence here, all right, even if we see the price couldn't break the previous low, but still we can consider. Right now, the only thing is we want to see the continuation. But as I mentioned, we need to be quite careful about this flat. If the price cannot continue from here, it start to consolidate within this range. Around some where the price it is, and we don't see the continuation, mostly we can expect the price to drop. Right now, it still will. If we get any opportunity for buy, we'll take the trade. But if VC is not moving, we are not going to keep the trade for long term. This is the only things. And if he wants to look for trade, as I discussed earlier, as I mentioned, based on Bitcoin, the best place was to look for trade from here. Buying from here, right now, we don't have any trade set up. Even if the price continue from here, the only ways we see with the breakout of 2080, then as a short move, then any flag from there, we take the trade. As long as the price haven't confirmed the breakout of the previous stop, any buy from here, we need to be quite careful because we should know about the bigger structure, about the flat. All right, that means we don't have any trade set up. The only thing is whoever get the trade from here, move their stop loss to break even if they want to keep the trade. If not, maybe they can take out the trade for the profit and they look for the next trade. Okay, and the next one was XRP. Okay. The only thing is, as I explained based on ETH, again, if you refer to my last analysis, since the price was within this move, we mentioned we can put our entry above the top. Even we get this sharp move, whoever get the trade by having entry above the stop, right now they should take out the trade in the break even. The reason is because we mentioned if I move to 15 minute, it will be more clear. All right. Since we discussed about having entry above the top, at that time we had this move. And we mentioned we want to get the 3 waves, the best things is. And when we see this move up as a short, it was really short because we were expecting this one can turn to deeper. And we get one more drop, the price could break the previous low. Okay. Then we should shift our entry above this. Whoever get the trade from here right now, they can move their stop loss to break even. But whoever get the trade by having entry above the top, because as we can see, the price consolidate for long term. Even if still they keep the trade, they should take out the trade in the break even, because we mentioned we want to see the breakout as a sharp move. If the price tag we see is not moving within the first or second hours, we are not going to keep the trade. And as you can see, the price almost was consolidating for long term. Okay, now we want to see what's the next. If we move to daily chart, all right, the only thing is right now I'm looking for this one. I want to see whether we can expect this one turn to correction relative to this for continuation or not. Okay, the only thing is may this one can turn to deeper move similar to what we have here, because as what we know that right now, nowadays most of the chart they following each other, mostly they following the Bitcoin. Okay, but technically we want to see whether this one can turn to a correction for continuation or not, if he wants to look for buy. And if I move to forward chart, all right, that means this trade is not valid, and right now still we can look for next trade from here. But what I want to see here, if there is a continuation as a corrective, mostly we can expect the price to drop, as I mentioned, because we have the flat based on the Bitcoin, and most of the chart they follow each other. All right, now whether we should look for the trade or not, if we get any trade set up, we will take the trade, but we need to see the continuation as a sharp move, at least with the breakout of somewhere around 69 or 70, which is the previous top. Okay, we don't have a really good trade setup. The only way is if we want to look for trade, if we move to 1 hour chart, the only way is to put our entry above the stop. Rather than that, we don't have any other option. Okay, and if we want to put our entry above the top, we need to see the breakout as a sharp move and continuation. If the price tag we see is not moving, we are not going to keep the trade, because what we have here is still we can expect the price to drop before we get the next move. For sure, the best things is if we get one more drop and we get the reversal. At that times, we can get the better confirmation. Because if we move to daily chart, we mentioned we want to see whether this one can turn to a correction, deeper correction relative to this for continuation or not. Okay, whether we should look for buy or not, the only way is to put our entry above the stop somewhere around 655. If I just adjust this one, 655. And what we want to see the continuation as a sharp move. But we should know that we mentioned we can expect the price to drop. If the price tag and we see there is no continuation, we are not going to keep the trade. We want to get any trade similar to what we get here. All right, because from what I can see here, mostly we can expect to get the one move up, the price drop, either break this low or even retest the previous low before we get the reversal. Okay, but if you're looking for this one as a flat, based on as I explained, based on daily chart, we don't want to see the breakout of the previous low. That means if we either from here or higher, the price at least retest 58, any reversal from there can give us a better trade for long term. But it doesn't mean we cannot get the trade from here. Still, we try to look for trade. But if it's not moving, we are not going to keep the trade. We need to be quite careful that looking for trade from here can be quite risky. Then it depends on the traders whether they want to take the trade or not. And the next one is ADA. And even for the ADA, whoever get the trade, as we can see, the price was not moving. Mostly we shouldn't be in the trade anymore. That means we should take the trade in the break even or a small profit. And whoever get the trade, they should take out the trade in, I mean, at least move their stop loss to break even if they can. and we wait for the continuation because we want to see the breakout of 1.4. Okay, the only way is, again, we are not going to look for trade from here unless we see the continuation, we see the confirmation with the breakout of 1.4. Any flag or correction from there, we can take the trade. Buying from here, the only way is to put our entry bar from the top, but it's simply if the price can tag and drop. That's why I won't suggest to put our entry above the stop. It doesn't mean the price cannot continue. Okay, but in terms of the risk and reward, it doesn't give us really good trade. That's why whoever get the trade from this entry, which is around 1.31, move their stop loss to break even. And the next one is LTC. LTC also have a similar movement. Whoever get the trade, if they haven't taken the trade, move their stop loss to break even or take out the trade in the small profit. Okay, and if he wants to look for we don't have a really good trade setup, and what I prefer, as I explained, based on ADA, we want to see the breakout of the previous top. Then from there, if we get the trade setup, we take the trade. As long as the price haven't broke the previous top, we are not going to take the trade. Okay, the best things was the Bitcoin and the ETH. Both of them, they have a really good movement, and at least it could give us a good trade setup for buy. And the next one is Doji. And even for the doji, we have been looking for trade by having entry at 0.256. And whoever get this trade, and if it's still they keep the trade, because as we can see, we see the breakout as a sharp move. After that, the price start to reverse. And we mentioned in the second hours, if there is no continuation, they could move their stop loss to break even. If not, they had a second chance to take out the trade in the break even. And right now, they should take out the trade. We are not going to keep this trade because I mentioned we can expect this one turn to deeper move for price to drop. We need to be quite careful. Okay. We are anyone get the trade, they should take out the trade in the break even. And still, if they believe there is a continuation, the only way is to put the entry. I mean, the best things is to take out the trade in the break even. And if they still believe there is a continuation, they can move they put the new entry above the stop, keeping the trade within this one. For hoping the price continue is not really good. Okay, that's why what I suggest. First things, whoever get the trade, take out the trade. If they haven't take out the trade, and if they think still we can look at this one as a trade setup for continuation, the only way is to put their entry above the top. And we need to see the sharp move. Okay, and if we want to put our entry above the top, what we want to see the continuation as a short move. With the price tag we see is not moving, we are not going to keep the trade. This is the only ways to look for the trade. We are not going to keep this trade anymore. Okay, because the reason is we can expect this one turn to a deeper move for the price to drop. We need to know about this possibility. All right, by the